It's practicing taking up actual physical space. And when you've been raised to be a servant, which I still believe we
Yeah.
are, it's
Yes.
hard to sit down and just put your elbows out and make sure you are going to be visibly seen when you have something to say. It's hard.
Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Well, welcome back to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. So glad that you chose to join us today. Today, I have a treat for you because you're going to get a chance to meet not only an amazing woman and a beautiful entrepreneur, but she's one of my clients, and I consider her a very dear friend. I will share with you a few things about why that has been just such a delight in my life as we're talking today. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to meet Yoder Graber. Thank you so much, Dawn, for being here. And I'm going to ask you, would you be willing to share with the audience just a little bit about yourself, what you do? But I need you to include something that we're not going to read on your bio or see on your website that people don't know about you.
Oh, fun, fun. Well, I work with organization and leaders to help them create workplaces that work for women. I think of myself as an equity strategist and come at it through a process consulting lens and also a coaching lens. And I have enjoyed doing this now for some years after being in K to 12 education and nursing before that. And something someone might not read about. I think of my grandkids and what we have in common with children, Tish. I think of the love of outdoors, but I might actually write about different times. Something you might not read is that in my younger years, my husband and I lived in rural Haiti for a year and a half as volunteers. And that was very formative in our background.
It sure would have been. Oh my gosh. I'm like, did I know that? I know you did a lot of travel. I don't know if I knew about Haiti. So that is something that is new, exciting, and even piques more curiosity. I'll have more questions later. Very, very good. So, Don, let me ask you this. What was it that pulled you out of the educational corporate background that you might have had into the world of entrepreneurship? What was it that made you make that decision?
Well, in one sense, the decision was somewhat made for me that I wasn't a good fit anymore at my last workplace.
Mhm.
And part of that whole experience helped me to understand that women's and the workplace is just a little different cup of tea than it is for some different male leaders in the workplace. And I think I thought that was a long time passe thing and not really an issue. And my dad, my late dad, actually always looked at me and said, "What are you going to do when you grow up?" And I would look at him and say, "What do you mean, Dad?" And he said, "Oh, you have the need and the ability to touch many more leaders than you currently are doing. So, what are you going to do when you grow up?" So, finally, I think I listened to my dad too and thought, I need to just be on a little broader path of affecting leadership and especially encouraging women in what is yet a gender biased reality.
Wow. First of all, what an amazing experience to have a father that would pour that into his daughter. That is so amazing. Because he literally gave you the gift of possibility and
Yeah.
showed you what you could actually do.
Oh, can I say a word yet about my dad, Tish?
Please, please, absolutely.
He passed 4 years ago tomorrow as we're recording this, but at the age of 87, he had the largest month of his entrepreneurial life the month before he passed. So
Wow.
he was always in some sort of business, this, that, or the other. And his last go at it was all things real estate. And at age 87, he just showed me, like, you know what? You never say stop if you love what you're doing.
Oh my God, I love that. I can't wait to hear more about him. We're gonna have to talk more about that for certain. Because I was a daddy's girl also. And my dad passed in 2010, and it was really tough because if anything, I could always go, even as a young girl, sit on my daddy's lap and just let him just kind of pour into me. So I can absolutely appreciate that. Don, I want to ask you a question that I know some of it is entrepreneurs, we're still figuring it out on our own, but I think there's people in our audience who would really benefit from your take on this answer. You're in a space that, number one, somewhat controversial in this particular landscape that we're in, right? And you're making a choice to go into workspaces and help them to be more equitable for women at work, helping companies to retain their top talent that happen to be female and so on and so forth. When it's a difficult topic of conversation and
Mm.
it might be less popular, how do you go and have sales conversations with decision makers about something that we know is needed, but they may not see as a priority right now?
Right, right. And Tish, I want to give you credit for helping me continue to learn and grow in this answer. I think, first of all, we have to be true to ourselves, right? So, yes, if it was a big, huge DEI push sort of environment, life may be a little bit easier for me right now. But I have to go with what my passions are and what my life experience has been. And I have daughter-in-laws and granddaughters and sons and grandsons who I want to continue to influence that can show up as their best selves without putting a hand up or pushing back another human being. And so I have to look at my own motivation and then trust and believe that there are a whole bunch of other people that are yet motivated in the way I am for people to just have the right seat on the bus
Mhm.
and to be able to be their full personhood without having to shrink based on some sort of baked in cultural gender biased reality, which we all just have experienced to some degree. And I'm just asking for people to be willing to examine it, to be able to just examine how and if it's affected their culture, and then if they're willing to do something about it. So I am still believing that there's a whole bunch of us that care about making sure that our sisters, our daughters, our sister-in-laws can have that full opportunity to use their gifts in the workplace.
I am absolutely elated and delighted. And I mean, I am just like, let me just give you a hand right now because that was such a great answer. Because what it says to anyone in any field that might feel challenged with the
Mhm.
way that they have to approach sales based on whatever, right? Whether it's society or the difficulty of what their topic might be or whatever, that there are some people, there's someone out there who's looking for what they sell, and you've just given them permission to continue to move forward and to do it based on who they are, what they
Mhm.
believe, and they know that they have a solution to a problem that exists. So I applaud you for that, Don, and I think you're absolutely correct in that.
And what you've helped me realize, Tish, too, is there's ways I can find those allies in the business world. Like, yes, there's people I know that I know care about their sister, their granddaughter, their own daughter, their wife, thinking that yet white males tend to dominate the leadership landscape. But you also have helped me learn and continue to learn ways to be able to find who are these organizations that are choosing right now not to duck because of the current landscape, but to be able to double down on believing that we are better and more effective when the right people and everyone has the same opportunity to be able to be in that seat that's just got their name on it at that moment.
I love it so much. Such a great perspective, Dawn, and I'm just really proud of you like taking a stand in this area. And I'm gonna plant a seed for you to think about. If you have the answer now, then by all means. But before we wrap up our session today, I want to come back to this question. If there was a dream client, a company that you're like, I would love to connect with someone there, I want you to be able to share that because there's going to be someone listening whether they know or they know someone who knows. My goal is to help to connect you to someone who might be thinking, I'm that person she's talking about and I care and I want to make a difference. So, again, you let me know when you're ready and we'll circle back to it if you're not ready right now. Okay.
Yeah, and I can answer it now too, I think,
Please,
Tish.
please, please.
Um, I really feel it's going to be that male leader
Mhm.
because women still seem to have a hard time advocating for something that might look like we're advocating for ourselves. Now, I'm all about assertiveness, and we need to be
Right.
able to keep learning that And I teach that, right? That's part of emotional intelligence development.
Right.
But with the majority yet being male in senior leadership, I think that this ideal client is like a mid-sized business, a growing business that is led by probably at least mostly men, maybe a man in a top seat or two, that has that open heart to be able to believe the research that says we're better if we do things together. And I don't think the male might say that I'm being gender biased. I don't think my women are halfway out the door. I think they're all happy and content. But you know what? I'm not so full of myself or insecure that I'm not willing to do the right thing and say, let's just stop and check this out and make sure we hear from our women and examine if we have any implicit bias going on. And then be willing to bring somebody like me or others in to be able to just have that conversation.
I love that. So, to our sold out sales community, you're hearing this, and I know you know someone. To be honest with you, the way you just phrased it right now, I thought of somebody, and I work with you all the time. And I'm like, wow, it just made me realize there's a person that I can make an introduction to for you. So, if you're hearing this and saying, oh my God, that's my boss, or that's the company I work for, or I know someone who feels that way or would really be open to this, I want you to reach out to Dawn. Dawn, I know we're not at the end yet, but why don't you share your contact information right now and then we'll repeat it again at the end.
Sure, sure. My phone number is 941-302-0886. And my email is dawnyg@designgroupintl.com.
Perfect. And we'll make sure we put that in the show notes as well. But I think it's important that when there's something that's so, I mean, it's so important, so pivotal in this day and time that if we can help make a difference, then we want to be able to do so. All right, so let me ask you this, Don, because kind of along the same lines of you moving out of the education space and out of the traditional work, kind of area and into your own business, who do you believe you had to become to be that person who could, sit in front of that male leader you just mentioned and really share with him how you can make a difference? Who have you had to become to be able to lead your business and have success in the way that you desire?
That is such a important question for me personally, Tish, and I think it is for a lot of women
Mhm.
who might have just clicked along. I knew I was always a leader. I knew I was always an influencer, but I didn't realize until the last year, maybe year and a half of my last, sort of corporate type job that
Mhm.
I was shrinking to
Mm.
please others. I
Yeah.
was needing to be, the square peg in the round hole. And I thought it was all about changing myself in order to please those with the most power.
Mhm.
And so my coach, I mean, we as coaches also have coaches, right? In sales and otherwise, just in support as a coach said to me once, I did not realize it was going to take us a whole year for you to transition into having your own agency.
Mm.
And I mean, perhaps that should sound a little embarrassing to even have to say, but I mean, I'm just being honest that I was so used to shrinking. Some of that was maybe a messed up spiritual understanding for myself. Maybe some of that was just a messed up leadership, servanthood sort of understanding where I just needed some time. There's a book, Transitions by William Bridges,
Mhm.
and it was like I had this whole time between the nets. Like I had left one job in one life, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't an instant start up and be fully confident and let's go get it and be like my dad. It
Yeah.
was like seriously a year of study and growing and time between the nets, Bridges would call it, between transitioning one job and really being fully available to be in another job. So it's been a journey. It's you ask about I don't know. I guess I just said it's a little bit more like a journey and being patient with myself. I learned I needed to be patient. It wasn't an instant ability to show up.
But I love that you took the time required It's almost like we was talking, I might have been at church, I don't know. We were talking, yeah, we were at church. I was talking about how the importance of the inner development is
Mm,
because otherwise, I love watching Food Network. I'm a cook. I love cooking, but frequently something looks golden brown, looks like it's so great. And then when you cut into it, it's like half done and it's inedible, right? And it's almost dangerous to eat. And I think that when we exit the process too early, and we've not
right.
done the work necessary in order for us to really develop into who we're
Yes.
supposed to be, then not only is it not good for us, but we're now putting other people at risk, right?
Yes.
We don't have
Yes.
all of the necessary wisdom that we should have taken that year. Some of us should have taken that whole year or even longer
Right.
to fully
Right.
develop so that we could be effective and really provide the solutions that we need to provide for the people that we're called to serve.
Yeah. It's given me more empathy in like coaching perhaps senior women leaders to know that, maybe they're able to move right on. Some people do. They don't have all the baggage I had. But other people, it's okay to just stop and evaluate, like, what do I need to work on to be able to be fully myself now instead of in my translation, it was shrinking from gifts God had given me to please a human. And like all of a sudden it was like, that is so wrong. Like I have gifts that are meant to be shared with the world. So how do I now do that?
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to a networking event or a conference and found that although you made great connections and you walked away with a stack full of business cards, you still didn't have a real plan for how to get a good return on your investment of both time and money? Well, let me tell you, having a networking and sales planner is a way for you to be more intentional about the way that you network.
Hey, I'm Susan Gladstein. I'm a functional nutrition and metabolism specialist, and I got connected with Tish because she is a rock star at systems and sales. And so I downloaded the planner to help get my brain organized as I went through a rebrand and launched a new course. And it's really helped me sort of get things out of my head and onto paper so that I can actually do follow-ups and not just rely on my brain. So far it's rocking my world and making my business systems that were non-existent actually have some sort of structure. So I love it. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed.
I've been working with sales professionals for almost 15 years. And one of the things that I find is that when they don't have a plan, they do nothing. They sit at their desk and wonder what to do. Well, with this networking and sales planner, you have profit producing activities for every single day of the week. It tells you where to go, what to say, even gives you prompts as to how to interact with people that you don't know. If you're an introvert and you feel like this isn't for you, I have already thought of you because I understand exactly how introverts think. So this gives you the tools enabling you to be armed with words, with language, so that you can make your networking more profitable.
Hey everyone, Rachel Neighbors here from solo401k.com. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about how awesome this sales networking planner is that Tish put out. So as you can see, I have it on my Remarkable. That's my sort of e-ink planner. And this sales planner has been so helpful for me. So I'm an old school pay-per-click marketer. I do Google ads, Facebook ads, and I know how to turn advertising into profit. But I didn't know how to turn network sales into profit. And when I met Tish, this woman literally wrote the book on networking called, Networking is Not a One-Night Stand. And she's put that experience and that energy and those valuable tips into this networking sales planner. And I just think that it can be so powerful for you in your business. I know it's been really helpful for me and mine. One thing that Tish told me is, Rachel, when you meet someone, put them into your planner and then follow up with them like they're a lead that you've generated on Google Ads or that you followed up with or that you've generated on Facebook. And that has been so helpful and transformative in my business. So thank you, Tish, for this awesome planner.
Maybe you don't even like networking. You say things like, networking doesn't work. Well, let me tell you, when you have a plan in place, you have some intention, and you have the tools to be able to make it work, you will see a different result. My new networking and sales planner is a game changer. It's the difference between you going to an event, wandering around and walking away without any purpose and without any new money, and walking into an event with a plan, with a purpose, and being able to convert new clients into your business. No one wants to feel inauthentic and pushy or even salesy when following up, so frequently we just don't do it at all. Well, the profitable follow-up formula, which is in the back of your networking and sales planner, will give you the tools and the language and the frequency with which you should be following up so that it feels very authentic, it feels genuine and natural both to you and to the people that you're reaching out to. Go to tishtimes.com/planner to get your digital or physical version of your planner.
Hi, my name is Cheryl James from CL James Consulting, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how awesome this networking sales planner is. I started intentionally networking at the beginning of this year, and I have been using my planner on a regular basis, not only to get inspiration, but to track the people I want to meet and the people I have met, and to make sure that I follow up with them from week to week. So if you are looking to network intentionally and hold yourself accountable, this planner is a must-have.
And once you get your planner, you'll also receive a video series that's going to teach you how to maximize your networking and how to use this planner to get the best result and best return on your investment of both time and money. If you are ready to stop wasting time with networking and turn your networking into a sales machine, then go to tishtimes.com/planner and grab your networking and sales planner.
So that leads me to my next thought, because in addition to helping you to make the workplace equitable and making sure that companies aren't losing top leadership because of how women may be feeling in the workplace, the other thing that comes to mind for me is you helping those women to also stand in their own agency, right? To be able to ask for what they want. And even in a corporate setting, we may not call it sales, but at the end of the day, we're selling ourselves into a new position, maybe selling for the opportunity to be a leader on a project or to ask for a pay increase, whatever that might look like. How do you, or what do you believe needs to happen for women to believe that they can ask for what they want? And like I said, they can kind of sell themselves even inside of the workplace.
Right, right. I think it's twofold. It's a belief system to, first of all, I mean, even if we just do the research, I got into some deep gender studies for some years as I was transitioning more to concentrating on women, and to read the research about, like, oh my goodness, women are equipped, women are doing amazing, women have this incredible giftedness that we can bring to the world. To first believe, if it's true in general, then how is it true for me? So to first just kind of own that it is true that I have gifts and they need to be shared. And then secondly, then I think women, we need to practice. And I think that's the wonder of, small groups, cohorts, groups like you sponsor, Tish, or others of us lead, where women can be vulnerable and even practice. For me, it was language, learning about language, dropping the just and the because and the soft language of maybe, sort of, I kind of think, what do you feel? Instead of just saying, I recommend, or just saying it a way that especially men pick up on more clearly. It's practicing taking up actual physical space. And when you've been raised to be a servant, which I still believe we are,
Yeah.
it's hard to sit down and just put your elbows out and make sure you are going to be visibly seen when you have something to say. It's hard. So I think we need to practice, and then we need to interrupt when those false beliefs come. And so that's, again, whether it's a coach or whether it's a respected friend or peer, we need someone that knows those gender bias realities and can call us on them when we say it. Like, for example, I've been working on stopping saying the phrase "you guys" for the last year. I mean, it's innocuous. It doesn't mean anything. It just means, come on, everybody, in informal speech, let's go. But for someone who works in women equity spaces, why am I saying to a group of people, which, are maybe my grandkids and mostly girls, why am I saying, you guys, let's go? It's time to get in the car. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a little thing, but it's not. Somebody needs to call me on it and say, no, stop. Mimi, you said that again. You said you didn't want to say that.
I love that.
Belief and then practice, and not thinking practice is silly. I mean, it takes practice and it takes
Uh,
kind of a friend or an accountability, somebody to help us call us out when we mess up, because we will mess up.
So good. And what you just said, although it is specific to the workplace, it is across the board. I think that as women, if we are having conversations that are designed for us for it to result in us getting what we need, whether it be in sales, whether it be asking for a raise or whatever, we have to feel enough. We need to know that we're enough. We need to believe that what we have to say is important and that we can shift the atmosphere when we take up space. And so I am so glad that you said that. I think all of what you said is so great. And for those of you all who are listening, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are C-suite leader, whether you are in mid-management, wherever you are in your role, this information is pertinent for you. It's really important that we understand that our voices make a difference. I once heard this, and Dawn, you and I have these conversations often, and people who know me know this is who I am. I believe God spoke to me years ago, and what He said was, "You cannot afford to be silent." And at the time I heard it, I didn't quite understand it. It took me probably several years to really get it. But what he was saying was, speak up for what I've placed in you to say. Don't silence yourself. Don't shrink back, and be willing to take up that space. And that was such a life-changing revelation for me. And I
Right.
think that we
Right.
might minimize that and think, well, I'm just asking for a raise, or I'm just, we say that we're
Adjust. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, no, you are changing the landscape for other women who also you're giving them permission to do the same. So thank you for sharing that, Dawn.
Yeah. And I'm looking at my gifts my gifts were given me, as a created human being, then it helps me feel more like, who am I giving homage to? It's not just that it's not that I'm all full of myself. It's
Right,
that
right.
I'm responsible to use the gifts that God's given me, and as a model to the people I love and that watch me every day.
Love it so much. So, because I understand very clearly what you quote unquote sell, right? What your company does and how you must go to speak with, whether it's corporations or organizations who are looking for this type of solution, it might feel a little more daunting because it's not a widget, right? It's not something that people buy every single day, or they necessarily have hundreds of thousands of dollars set aside on a budget always for this type of work. So I think sometimes sales can feel like a roller coaster. When difficult times, or even rejection hits hard, what keeps you fired up and focused? What causes you to get back up, get back on the line, get back in LinkedIn, get back in front of a room and have a conversation? What are the things that kind of keep you forward moving?
Yeah, great question. And Tish, I think we share some similarities here again, like on our morning routine.
Yeah.
Um, like just whether we each are people of the word that, we're going to start our day with some Bible reading, and then I have, some emotional intelligence, some journaling, that sort of thing. I mean, just that regular routine.
Mhm.
For some of our colleagues, I know it's, and for you also, it's a walk, or for me, maybe it's a swim. Routine in some part of the day, even when it's, I'm used to thinking of it as porpoising, when all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah.
oh, where did all those clients from last year go?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. To
Yeah.
stay with that regular routine, to believe in words I've heard also, in the sense of, it's right around the corner. Like, we don't give up. It's okay. Life is a challenge. Life is hard work. I mean, there really is growth in the journey. But for me, practically, for when times are slow or the challenge is there, I want to look at the gift of time to be able to do the work, like to do some writing, to do some video sort of production, to do some of the content sort of work that's hard to always find when the clients are clicking and the calendar's full.
Yeah.
So, there's other things you can get done. It's like a summer up north. You'd have rainy summers, you did one thing. You had sunny, hot summers, you jumped in the lake every day. They both were good, but sometimes the activities are a little different.
I love it. It's like keep it moving. Just figure out which place you're going to focus your time. I love that.
Yeah.
God, we could talk all day. We're gonna get ready to wrap up, but I do want to ask you, that person that you described earlier, who would be your ideal client, what might they, Dawn, if they're going online and Googling or putting something into ChatGPT, trying to figure out who can help them with their problem, what type of phrases might they be Googling or researching to find someone like you who could come and help their company?
Yeah. Well, it seems like retaining talent is a big one because it's the high impact women who will start to quietly quit. I mean, we don't tend to just, put resignation letters on a desk. We tend to quietly exit. There are signs. So,
Mhm.
what are your women's leadership, high impact women? Um, it also could be just simply when they think in terms of, their productivity, their best outcome, their teaming. I mean, actually, just this sense of when women and men are in their best seats in business, they're going to be the most profitable. They're going to have the most employee engagement when they work on their teamwork, which has to do with listening and how's it working for the women? How's it working for the men? So, probably women leaders in the sense of, high impact women retention. Maybe it's employee resource groups, women's employee resource groups that need some extra help. Could be allyship and sponsorship. They might be an informed male leader who says, we know we need to do better, but we don't know what it looks like. And it seems kind of weird to admit we might not be doing it the best we can do. So, what does it mean to be an ally of our high performing women?
Mm-hmm. I love that. These are all great, great things. And once again, I know that our listeners, are hearing things and going, that sounds like something we might need. And I really encourage those of you all who are listening, if you see yourself as an ally or you see yourself as someone who might be a great partner, make sure you reach out to Dawn because I know her and I know the type of work that she does. And I know that it makes a huge, huge difference. So once again, Dawn, would you please share your contact information? And anything that you'd like for, a potential client or someone who really wants to connect with you to do.
Sure. Dawn Yoder Graber. You can find me at Dawn Y. Graber on LinkedIn, on Instagram. My phone number, feel free to text me, is 941-302-0886. And my email is dawnYG@designgroupintl.com.
Wonderful. Dawn, it's been such a delight to speak to you today. And I'm so glad that not only did we get a chance to talk here on the podcast, but I have the privilege of talking to you pretty much weekly in our group. So thank you so much for being here. And for those of you all who are listening, once again, I want you to take action on something that you heard today because you're probably saying, wow, my company is similar. It's a little more nuanced to be able to sell. It's not something that every other entrepreneur that I'm sitting in groups with and different networking events understand. Now you've heard someone who has a different type of service to sell and still is very passionate and very diligent and very consistent about getting in front of them. So do something, even if you're not doing the same thing, do something every single day to get in front of your ideal client and to help change the world, your part of the world that you're called to touch. Do something to, put something into action that you heard today. Reach out to Dawn if you think it might be a great connection for you. And we'll see you back here next week. Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I'd love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.